Today, I sit down with Abdul. He immigrated from Somalia with his family when he was 10 years old. They didn't have a choice. They needed to create a future better than the ones they were leaving behind. It was a really powerful story to hear the journey and to hear what it's like on the other side. It's also a lesson to make sure we all look at everyone as equal no matter what. And I think he was talking about news with terrorist incidents, how he feels sometimes that people look at him, as a terrorist. And it's his reality. And the advice he gives on there is very good. So I do hope you enjoy this episode. Hello and welcome, Abdul. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you doing, Jessica?
I'm good. It's so good to see you again.
So good to meet you again.
How's your weekend been?
It's been very hectic. A lot of families, a lot of family members moving out, so helping them move out. So it's been, and the weekend's gone way too quick. So
Yeah. Well, thanks
as
for
always,
making the time for sharing your story. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so my name is Abdul. Originally from Somalia, moved to the UK when I was the age of 10, I think. Yeah, if I can remember. I run a social enterprise called Saharan Cares. It's a family-run social enterprise that offers care and support to the elderly. And we do this by offering employment to refugees who English isn't their first language. We sort of train them in-house, we teach them, we empower them with skills that they may need in the future. And then we offer them employment, and then they work as care workers, and we also offer them qualifications that help in social care. We've been doing that since 2012 now.
Nice. And that's actually how we met, everyone. So Abdul and I were at the Social Enterprise UK Awards. So for everyone who doesn't know what a social enterprise is, it's a company or business that reinvests its profit into its own social mission. So for me today, the intention is I really want to understand what it's like to be a Somalian immigrant, and the structure that I hope you don't mind me putting together is starting off with the motivation, your family's motivation for the migration, the journey, the hopes you had versus the realities, and advice. Actually, let's even go earlier than that. What was it like growing up in Somalia? Paint us a picture.
I mean, the recollection that I have in Somalia has always been being in my grandmother's farm, and my grandmother has a farm there, and my granddad, and playing around the farm. I remember being 6, 7, or 8, I guess, going to trips to the farm and just grabbing fresh fruits and all of those things. So it was a nice environment to be around, and that's always home. And it's always when you go back, you just feel home right away. Um, but as a family, as we were getting older, then my parents started to think about the future. They started to think about what was best for, and education is something that's embedded culturally, and you have to, education is something that was drilled in. Is if you want to make it a life, education is what's going to separate you from other people, and you have to work hard for that. And that was the motivation from sort of my family. Well, and also situation, and to be fair, and this is a story for any migrant and any refugee that lives in a country that isn't structured, is everybody is in search for a better future, because in essence nobody wants to leave their home. If you really think about it, if everything, that's where nobody wants to, if you've asked any migrant, would you have moved or would you have stayed? Everyone said we would have stayed home, the situation was better. So everyone in a way has similar stories. Everyone had to make it out for a better future, and you don't take that for granted once you do make it.
When you say structured, what do you mean about Somalia not being structured?
As in structured, as in there isn't a government. So I mean, it's a failed state. So when there's no structure, there's chaos.
Yeah.
And when there's chaos, there's never, you cannot grow. Growth comes from stability, and that's, as a country and as a life as well. We have aspirations where we think about growth once we've got down the bare minimum, the bare, okay, do we have a roof over our head? Are we able to eat? Like those basic necessities. Once you're able to get that, then you think about growth. Until then, you're always on survival mode. You just want to make it the next day, and you cannot grow if you're constantly on survival mode.
Yeah. I think that's like the Maslow's hierarchy of needs that's like coming
Yeah.
to mind, that
Yeah.
idea. So for your family, that was the motivation, a better future.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about who you left behind and who you brought with you.
So luckily, as a family, we're all here. But the people you leave behind are the people, like I still have the people that I have back home are still my uncles, my grandmother, relatives from my dad's side, relatives from my mom's side. So that's one of the luckily for me, I still have my brothers and sisters with me. So as me, I don't really feel, but it's my family who've had to leave friends behind, and just different worlds behind. So and coming here at a young age as well means that I spent most of my life in a way here, in the UK. So I didn't feel like I missed out on much, if that makes sense, because there isn't
Yeah.
that, I don't have that recollection of the other side. Like I didn't study all the way there, and so on and so forth.
Yeah. But I bet your parents do.
Exactly. Exactly. And they always have, like, I'll be speaking to my dad, and he'll be telling me stories about how it's beautiful in the 70s and how life was different, how people would dress up and like just things that things that, because the Somalia that I know is just war. But but there's an origin story that he was telling me about how before this there was peace, there was life, and people were sort of coexisting together, and people had aspirations, and people would go to other countries to study and then come back, and so that was the life that in a way I've never seen, that I've only heard of, and I could only see pictures of, and a few video clips, but in terms of me seeing it, that's I've always grown up for it to be a failed state and a failed country, but in a way, but there's progress happening.
Yeah.
There is change happening, there's progress happening, and people, there's a new generation of people that that were able to sort of make it out, and are now coming back and are adding value to the country. So hopefully 20-30 years down the line, once I have kids in the future, hopefully they'll see the Somalia that my family were able to see.
So why did your family choose the UK?
That is actually a good question. I'll have to. I think one of the reasons is because some of my aunts were in the UK, so it was easier to use. So in a way, you know you weren't starting everything alone. There were people, there were familiar faces that you knew that were able. I guess that's the reason why my parents picked it. But I'm not complaining. I'm happy
Yeah.
that they chose.
Yeah. I wasn't
I'm
like,
happy.
God, why did they pick the UK? So do you remember what the journey was like leaving?
Not as much, but it was and because it was very blurry, and nobody, and when you're young, you don't know why you're moving. You just think it's, oh, we're going on a trip. Like you don't know what it is, like, and it was, so that part of my life, I didn't, that part of my life I didn't sort of, all I know is I was back home, and then all of a sudden came to the UK, and it's like, whoa, this place is
Yeah.
different. And it's
Yeah.
like, wow. um and you then appreciate little things like, oh, it's green trees, oh, there's
Yeah.
grass, oh wow. uh
Wow. So you didn't have that in Somalia.
I mean it's not that, but there were like parks, nature, like you don't like parks, like structured parks and whatnot. I mean, they are there because my grandmother had a farm, but then you would have like a plot, like around her farm there'll be a plot of land which is green, and then there's desert, and then a plot of land. So
Yeah.
it's little things like that.
Do you remember any of like the war about it?
No, but I do remember hearing stories about it.
Mm.
And especially my aunt who's had to go through that, and she's got vivid stories of, um the war and how it broke off and how she had to sort of flee with her family, and it was traumatic experiences, and how my grandmother and my grandfather had to flee, and all of these stories that, I mean, luckily I wasn't there when that was happening.
Okay, so it
But
got bad once you guys left.
yeah, exactly. It's interesting because when you speak to people, sometimes even with our care workers, sometimes they'll tell you stories about here and there, like about how what they had to go through as well, and how
Yeah.
they had to, and how they still have that trauma that they're still
Mm.
carrying from that. People just telling you like, wow, it was graphic. It was such a bad experience.
So let's revisit 10-year-old Abdul. You've just moved to this new country. What was it like?
It was exciting. I remember it was very exciting. The the playing football with random people you don't know in a park, just kicking the ball around, and it was summer. I remember it was summertime, so everyone was out. The weather, um, and it was exciting. It was different. I was happy. So
Yeah. What's
like,
was there something that like surprised you most about the UK?
um, I think, yeah. I mean, luckily as well. I mean, luckily where I came from, the part of London that I was in, there were people that looked like me, so I could speak to them in my language as well. So it was the fact that there's a lot of people there's a community out there that surprised me, and that in a way the community helps you. It helps the adaptation process. It helps you adapt to a situation a lot quicker. So there's already a built community. There was familiar food,
Mm.
so you don't miss it out, things like that, and that really helps. Um, and then you make friends here and there, and you build, and through sports. That's why sports is amazing, because you're able to just, you can go from not knowing, and by the end of it, people are like, oh, you're gonna come back tomorrow and play with us. So it's those little, yeah.
Yeah.
So it was a happy memory. And then
Yeah.
from there start, secondary school, and that's really where life started, and so on.
And did you know English before you came here?
Not my writing was very bad, and my English wasn't as strong as the people around me. But luckily, with time and playing with people, play football with people, uh, helps from teachers. I was able to improve
Yeah.
steady. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel
That's
like I'm still improving my English. I don't think that.
same. Oh my God.
Yeah. Like the other day, I
Yeah.
learned a new word. I was like, oh wow, that's a cool word. Okay.
Yeah. So you said you have siblings.
Yeah.
Were they older than you?
Yeah, they were older than me. So I've
Okay.
got
So
one
did
younger.
okay.
Yeah, and I've got a few that are older than me.
So did you all find did everyone have a similar experience of really being excited and enjoying moving here?
I think everybody had, because they're older than me as well.
Yeah.
So I'm sure the excitement comes from new opportunity, and the excitement comes from, wow, you really, because my parents will always say, if you work hard, if you study, you can be whoever you want to be. So
Mm.
it's that formula. Okay, so I just sit down, I need to work out, I need to work hard, and hopefully, stars will align, and I'll be this person that that my parents would say that I can be.
Yeah.
So it's that excitement of that, I guess, and you don't forget that, really. You're eager to want to achieve that.
Yeah. It sounds like your parents did a really good job of making this journey seem like something you should be excited for.
Yes, and I commend them for that. Actually, they've had to do a lot of sacrifices for us, and even just the other day, I always tell her, like, "Mom, you made a great choice picking the UK." Like, yes,
Yeah.
like you made a good choice, and it's the sacrifices that they make, and you don't notice it when you're younger, but as you get older, you always love your parents, but you appreciate what they had to go through
Yeah.
for you even more as you get older. And like every day the level of respect goes even higher. Not that I don't respect them, I love them, but
Yeah.
it's just a new ounce of, wow, you guys did this for us, and wow, like,
Yeah.
so nothing you do would can ever repay that back the sacrifices, the love that they give, and and especially after COVID, you've got families that have lost one another and so on and so forth. So you just, the sense of family, you appreciate that even more. Yeah.
Yeah. I find as I get older, like my capacity for love is like I keep unlocking new levels, and it's like, whoa, I didn't think I could love any harder than I
Exactly,
love you.
exactly. And then as you get older, you become a bit more soppy as well. You start crying over little things. I appreciate you guys.
Yes, I do the
Just
exact
random
same.
times. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm so grateful.
Yeah.
So I totally agree with you.
So as time has passed on, have you experienced any feeling of being unwelcome here in the UK?
Maybe if I grew up in a different part of the UK where where we were the only Somali family, then maybe that would have been a problem. But London, the beauty about London is like it's a multicultural city, and there are people from different cultures. Like I went to school with people from Pakistan, Afghanistan, just people all over the world. And you embrace these cultures and you learn about their traditions, and it shapes you to sort of be like a global citizen. Like our school was like a United Nation. You had people from different cultures. Um, that and in a way, for me it was good because I was able to learn different cultures and different and in a way it shaped me as I've grown older as well.
Yeah. So I think it would be really interesting to hear from you. You know, you work with your family in this business. Can you tell us a little bit more about it and maybe pick one story you wanted to share?
We're a team of just over 90 carers, and we operate in London, and there's so many stories, and our care workers are the most incredible women. They're these amazing women who I call them community ambassadors, because not only are they carers, but they're mothers, and you know, they help each other, and they inspire their families, and the families look to them as these hardworking women, and they're just incredible. Some of the success stories that we've had since starting the organization, we've had carers who came to our organization and in a few years were able to put a deposit to buy their council house, that they were able to save that money with their husbands. And so, but and that's amazing. We have carers who sent their kids to Oxford and Cambridge and some of these top universities, and they were able to graduate, and that's amazing. And that's what motivates us. There's nothing more satisfying than celebrating their daughters or their sons' graduation, because you feel that. And one thing that bonds us together is we all have that lived experience. We all know what it feels like to sort of come and start from scratch, and that's what bonds us and as a company. And we don't really see it as a company, we're just one big family. And our carers, there are times when, to go back with the rejection, some of the clients we look after were born in the 1920s, the 1950s, a long time ago. So their perception of life is different to how we live our lives. But sometimes when you speak to them on the phone, they've already sort of built an image of how you're supposed to look like, and then you turn up, and then the voice doesn't match the image that they had in their head.
And for the podcast listeners, do you mean that they think that you are Caucasian and you're not?
Exactly. Yeah. So they've already built that perception, and then you turn up, and then there's always or when the carers turn up, and like, oh, so there are times when a client would be like, well, I don't want someone from a different skin to touch my family. I'm sorry. It's just, nothing against you guys, but someone from a different skin, your skin cannot look after that. And it's, you listen to that, you're like, you know what, no worries at all. It's your loss, because these cats are incredible. But and you hear that sometimes it's not nice, and you have to tell them, listen, it's not you, it's just how they're wired, and that their opinion doesn't shape who you truly are. You're incredible. So reinforcing that to them.
Yeah.
And that happens, and and that's life. And you have to deal with it. Again, you can't take that in. You just have to roll the punches, and cool, that's your way of life, fine. But
Yeah.
if that, we know our value, and we know our worth, and we know that the work that we do is incredible. So
Yeah.
your opinion about someone's skin color doesn't really shape. And also, they go into the house with their headscarf, and sometimes it could be an incident that's happened could be a terror incident that happened somewhere else, and then the carer would come in with a headscarf, and then they would look at them and then be like, what did you? But in time, and through the care, through the action of kindness and their compassion and their empathy, they're able to see, actually, you know what, not everyone is like that. Look, I've got my carers who look after me, that care for me, and so they're able to change that perception just by their actions, just by showing up on time, just by being there for them. So it's sometimes, action speaks louder than words, and they're able to demonstrate those actions.
You've mentioned something I've been very curious about. When there is when there have been terrorist incidents in the past, because I've been in London for 5 years and I've seen already like 2. Do you feel like people look at you in a certain way, and do you have a feeling, and maybe that's not true, but you feel that way because the media's portrayed it to be?
It's very sad, but every time I would leave my house, I'm always aware that I could be the first Muslim that someone meets today. I could be the first Black person that someone meets today. And how I conduct myself is so important, because I could change someone's perception just by my actions, keeping the door open for someone. And I do that subconsciously all the time. I can't change the world, but I can change the people around me, and so they can always come back to that. Actually, no, there was one person that actually did that for me, and hopefully that could change the perception of people. And the people I hang around with will all do the same thing, and it's changing the world through your actions.
But that must be so frustrating as well, and it must be quite tiring.
It is, because especially like you said, sometimes the media might perceive us in a certain way, and it's not true, and you can see that it's not true, and it does get tiring.
So I have 3 more questions for you.
Okay.
All right, here it is. So the first one is, your mom sounds so badass. Was it her that started the care taking idea?
Right. Yeah. So I agree. My mom is badass, 100%. And her mom is also incredible.
You come from a line of strong women.
Strong women have always shaped my life, and my sisters are incredible women too. So I've always been grateful to be around people that inspired me, and so yeah, I mean, she set up a charity to sort of setting up a safe space for people, similar backgrounds, bringing them together as a community. These are women that might have faced domestic violence in the past. These are women that might have had different traumas. So she set up a charity to sort of bring them all in, do these training sessions for them where they can also bring their kids. So it was ticking for a few years, and she realized that she had a group of people that were regularly turning up to these sessions. And then my brother had the experience and my brother used to work at the local authority through the care aspects. He had the commissioning angle, and that's how the idea came of, I've got this group of people that are caring. They're naturally caring people. Why don't we put that to good use, and how can we empower these people even more? Fair enough, they've got all these certificates, but now let's put these certificates into good use. And that's how the idea sort of was born.
So none of the women before were caregivers. They were just a part of a support group.
They were part of a support group, but then they had the natural caring quality in them.
Wow.
And not everybody can be a carer.
Wow.
You've got to have that natural compassion.
Yeah.
And they all had that in abundance, in respect of whatever trauma they went to, but they still had that in abundance. So utilizing that, and also society, in a way, society wouldn't look at them either way. Society wouldn't give them a chance. So giving a chance to people that society wouldn't have given a chance to is even more gratifying. It's even more inspiring for us, because we know that we're able to look past that and just see them as who they are, these incredible women, and just empower them with information, with positive words and confidence, and then watch them fly, and all of them are flying.
That's so beautiful. What advice would you give to someone who is about to take the journey to immigrate here?
First thing is, so, you know what? Sometimes when you are hearing stories about people that left their country, like I could never get bored of those stories because you feel each story and you see that wow, someone's risking their lives to come here, and it makes you even more grateful. Like I am every day I wake up is a day full of blessing, is a day that I am truly grateful for being here, for being able to breathe, for being able to do what I can in a safe environment, and I never take that for granted, never, and I don't think I'll ever take that for granted. So my advice to them is, I understand why you have to do that. Like for me, like anyone who like people don't have to explain why they have to leave a situation. I get it right away. Um, I, my advice to them once they are able to safely make it here is utilize the opportunities that you have and don't put that. Just remember, use that to motivate you to change your environment. Don't just settle for fine. I just made it, but how can you help the people around you? How could you uplift the people around you? How could you empower the people around you? How could you share that knowledge that you were fortunate enough to gain with the people around you? And then it becomes a duty to do that. You never want to forget that. So once you're able to settle down and once you're able to sort of build yourself in a new environment, don't forget the people around you. Yeah.
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 What do you wish people knew about immigrants?
Yeah, I mean that they're hardworking, that they want to be treated the same way, that they don't just leave their country to go to another country so they could claim welfare, that they have aspirations, that they have dreams just like everyone else, that they just want to make it in life just like everyone else.
I think it would be great if you could just say the name one more time of the business. So if in case anyone who has who needs someone to be taken care of can look out for you
Yeah,
guys.
so it's Sahan Cares, so S for Sierra, A for Alpha, H for Hotel, A for Alpha, N for November, and then Cares, Cares.
Thank you so much, Abdul. I really am honored to hear your story, and I really look forward to keeping in touch.
Thank you so much for your time, Jessica. I really appreciate you.
All right, bye.
Take care.